This is wild. If you're starting from the bottom, if this year has kicked your butt 20 times over, if you have a vision of what you want to create, but you have no freaking clue how you're going to get there, do I have a story for you. So I've shared with you that I've built my business to over $10 million in revenue in the last 4 years, but it all started from absolute zero, bottom, 10 years ago, just down the block. My little shoebox apartment where I really truly became an entrepreneur. I haven't been back in it in 10 years, almost 10 years, and I'm going in today. And if I could give that girl who is blood, sweat, and tears trying to get her business off the ground some advice and be her mentor, this is what I tell her, and this is what I tell you. I'm sure you don't get much requests like this, so.
No.
Oh my God, the memories in this place. I didn't have a YouTube channel at this time. I just remember doing everything I could to figure out how to grow a business and how to make enough money to pay my rent in here. This was my apartment. My bed was over there, my couch was right here, and my desk was right there. I'm gonna go ahead and sit down where my couch used to be. And if I could sit down with the version of myself that lived here 10 years ago, I would say this is the biggest advantage you have. Every single thing that you're doing right now and all the hours and the time that you're putting in is going to pay off for the rest of your time as an entrepreneur. And yes, it's all gonna work out. Because at that time, I had no idea. And you'll never be scrappier. You'll never be scrappier. You'll never be more committed. You'll never be more hungry. You'll never be more focused than when you're at zero. When you're at the bottom, when you have nothing to lose, you have everything to gain. And I remember sitting in this apartment and my turning point, and the best thing you can do is I gave myself a deadline. And I said, if you don't make this work within 12 months, if you're not making $1,500 a month in your business in 12 months from now, it's time to go back to a full-time job. And I did that. I put that pressure on myself, and $1,500 would cover my rent and it would cover food. And that gave me this push to do whatever it took to make it work. I took random jobs, I worked at a restaurant, I did part-time contracts, I did anything that I could to make sure that I could stay focused and stay afloat in my business to make that goal happen. And that's the gift of being at the bottom and starting at the bottom, and you have to be resourceful. I learned how to do everything on my own. I studied finance. I looked at all the sales training I could look at. I focused on marketing and how to do organic marketing because I didn't have money to be spending on anything, and just getting my name out there. And it forced me to simplify, which is why I'm so committed to simplification now and why it's my biggest piece of advice for anyone starting a business. It's not about what your brand looks like. It's not about how pretty your Instagram photos are. It's about actually getting real people to buy into what you're doing and doing a great job for them so they tell more people and your business can grow from there. And I really believe my mantra of test, fail, learn, grow, repeat started in these walls. I failed so much here, and I wouldn't change it for the world. It's where I cut my teeth as an entrepreneur, because as an entrepreneur, you're a problem solver innately, and you have to look at problems not as why me, but try me. This is where I harvested that mentality of it's not an obstacle, it's an opportunity. And it's really hard to find motivation. I remember sitting here and just being like, what am I supposed to do? How am I gonna make this work? I should just give up, move back home, do whatever I needed to do. But the thing that kept me motivated was learning and teaching myself and finding mentors. Whether or not they knew who I was, I didn't care. I soaked up everything I could from them to start taking baby steps in the right direction. And every little baby step I took, I gave myself a pat on the back, big or small. If I failed, I celebrated it, because at least I was doing something. There are 1,000,001 people out there who have business ideas. It's a fraction of them who actually do anything about it. And that's what I learned here. And it's just crazy to me that it's been that long since I've lived here, and I feel like the same person, but so much has changed. And this year This year's challenged us in ways that we never would have imagined. And I know you have been through it. And I remember that feeling of being at zero. I don't want to forget it because it makes me hungry. And I remember sitting here, I'm gonna get emotional, that's so silly. I feel like I cry in all my videos now. But I remember sitting here and I had a binder where I wrote my goals. And I wrote down, I won't forget it, I still see it. I wrote down and I highlighted it, and it said, when you get to a place that you've made your business work and you are at a place where you can give back, find a way to give back to people who are in your position now. So for the people who are just starting out, I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't believe in myself first and foremost, but also I had people who helped. I remember I had to check my ego at the door, and there's nothing wrong with that. The minute you accept you're at the bottom and you can check your ego at the door, you start to ask for help, and that's where the real growth comes from. And you start to do whatever it takes, and you don't care about what people think. I remember having to ask my parents if they could help me pay rent. And I remember barely scraping by for food. I remember old bosses calling them and being like, hey, do you have any extra work for me? Just to pay my bills. And there's no shame in that. And I'm at a place today where I know what I want to do with my journey and my story is help you and help the people that are just starting out. You don't need a handout. Nobody needs a handout. You may need a hand up. And that's what I want to do. So I'm doing something in my next video that I have never done before, but it's something I started dreaming about in this apartment. And it's something I committed to myself in this apartment. And it's going to ideally share and help you to understand that when you own your story and when you own where you're at, good, bad, or indifferent, there's power in that. And amazing things can happen. So if you want the behind the scenes on what I'm up to, I have this secret group and it's full of heroes of their own story just like you. So click the link below to join it. But what I want you to know is 10 years ago, never in my wildest dreams, being in this apartment, this tiny little apartment, would I have ever imagined that I'd be at a place where I have an 8-figure business. I'm fucking married. What? And I have this whole life that was just a dream back then. And so imagine where you could be in 10 years. Are you with me?